So welcome, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're going to be tackling something that I think is on a lot of people's minds, and that is this whole kind of conflict that's been brewing between YouTube and ad blockers.
Yeah.
You know, those browser extensions or add-ons that people use to stop ads from interrupting their videos.
Right, right.
And you know, at first glance, you might be thinking, well, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
You know, who really cares about ads? But imagine, you know, try to picture a world without YouTube, without any ads at all. And it's kind of hard to imagine, right?
Yeah.
Because ads are how YouTube makes money.
Right.
And without them, you know, the platform would really struggle to survive.
Yeah, I mean, how would they pay their staff, their servers?
Exactly. So there is that element to it. But here's the catch. The ads on YouTube, they just seem to be getting worse, you know.
Yeah.
More intrusive, more frequent, more annoying. Exactly. And that's driving, you know, even more people to use ad blockers.
It's a cycle.
Yeah. So we're going to try to unpack this whole situation, and we're going to look at the history of this conflict. How did we even get here? And then also where things might be headed.
Yeah.
And we've got some really interesting sources for this deep dive.
Oh, cool.
And we'll see, you know, how YouTube's attempts to fight back against these ad blockers have sometimes backfired.
Oh, really?
Spectacularly. Yeah.
Interesting.
And how this whole issue, it's actually a lot bigger than just YouTube.
Oh, okay.
It's really a debate about the future of the internet itself.
Wow, that is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it really touches on so many different aspects of how we consume content online.
Right, the creator economy, you know, the viewers themselves and how they engage with content. It's a lot.
It's a whole ecosystem, isn't it?
It is.
So let's start by maybe rewinding a bit and going back to the early days of YouTube.
Like way back.
Way back, like remember when it was this kind of ad-free paradise?
Oh, yeah.
You know, where you could just blissfully watch videos without interruption?
Ah, the good old days.
The good old days, right? When everything online wasn't trying to sell you something.
Yeah, it was just pure content.
Exactly. So what happened?
Well, you know, as YouTube grew and as more and more creators started uploading content, the cost of actually running that platform skyrocketed. They needed a way to generate revenue.
Right.
And you know, advertising seemed like the most, you know, logical solution at the time.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's how a lot of media has been funded for decades. You know?
Exactly. Newspapers, television, it's the traditional model.
Exactly. So in came the ads.
Right.
And initially, it wasn't that big of a deal, right? You know, you might get a few skippable pre-roll ads here and there.
Yeah.
Most people didn't really mind too much.
It was manageable.
Yeah, it was manageable.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I'll sit through a quick little ad, and then I get to watch my video.
I'll get your content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as time went on, you know, the ads just became more frequent, more intrusive, more annoying, and frankly, just kind of a nuisance.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah,
like it started to really detract from the experience of actually watching videos on YouTube.
Yeah, like you'd be in the middle of this, you know, really interesting video, and then boom, you're hit with like this unskippable ad for like, you know, something completely unrelated.
Exactly. We started seeing longer, unskippable ads.
Right.
Multiple ads.
Yeah.
Before a video.
Like a whole commercial break.
Yeah, it's like they took the worst parts of television and brought them online.
Yeah, it's like I came here to get away from that.
Exactly. Exactly. And then even ads popping up in the middle of the video.
Oh, the mid-roll ads. Yeah,
those are the worst.
The worst.
So it reached a point where it really started to impact the user experience.
Yeah, it became a problem.
And that's when ad blockers like AdBlock Plus and Ublock Origin, they stepped onto the scene and became incredibly popular.
Yeah.
Because people were just tired of being bombarded with all these ads.
Right.
And they wanted to take back control of their viewing experience.
Yeah, and you can't really blame them.
No.
You know, no one likes feeling like they're being manipulated or exploited, and that's kind of how a lot of people started to feel about online advertising.
It feels very intrusive, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And it's kind of ironic because, we've got all this technology that's supposed to, personalize our experience and make things easier. But in a lot of ways, it's actually made things more annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's a double-edged sword.
It is.
For sure. So speaking of feeling manipulated, one of our sources tells a really interesting story about a pastor in Oklahoma.
A pastor?
Yeah, a pastor.
Okay.
Who actually tried to ban ad blockers from his website back in 2007.
Wow, that's going way back.
Way back. Yeah, and he claimed that using ad blockers was basically stealing from websites, like you were depriving them of revenue.
Okay.
But all he really ended up doing was giving ad block plus a ton of free publicity.
Yeah.
It's a classic example of what's known as the Streisand effect.
The Streisand effect.
Yeah, have you heard of that?
I think so, but remind me.
Yeah, it's basically when attempts to suppress information
actually end up making it
spread more widely.
Spread more widely, exactly.
Oh yeah. Like trying to hide something just makes people want to find it even more.
Exactly. So in this case, this pastor's attempt to ban ad blockers just drew more attention to them.
It backfired.
It totally backfired.
Yeah.
And it's ironic, isn't it?
It is.
It's like the more you try to fight against something, sometimes the stronger it becomes.
Yeah, you got to be careful how you approach these things.
For sure. And YouTube's own attempts to combat ad blockers haven't always gone smoothly either.
Oh, really?
Sometimes they've backfired pretty spectacularly.
Like what kind of things have they tried?
Well, there's that experiment they ran where they threatened to block users.
Oh, wow.
Who didn't disable their ad blockers after watching 3 videos.
Really? Like a 3-video limit?
Yeah, a 3-video ultimatum.
Huh. Did that actually work?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I remember reading that it caused quite a bit of backlash.
Yeah, I can imagine.
People were not happy about it.
Right. It's like they're being punished for wanting a better viewing experience.
Yeah, and it highlights the tightrope that YouTube is walking here.
Right.
On the one hand, they desperately need that ad revenue to keep the platform running.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if they push too hard,
right,
and they alienate their users,
they could lose them.
They risk driving them away.
Yeah.
To alternative platforms.
To competitors.
Exactly. And there are already sites out there that offer an entirely ad-free YouTube experience.
Really?
Essentially, they mirror the content.
Yeah.
But without any ads.
So they're basically just ripping off YouTube's content.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a gray area, right?
Yeah.
But as users become more frustrated with YouTube's approach, these alternatives could become increasingly popular.
Right. So it's like YouTube is kind of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit.
Yeah. I think they're definitely in a tough spot.
They are.
It's a difficult balance to strike.
Yeah.
Between keeping the platform afloat and keeping users happy.
Right.
And then you've got the developers of the ad blockers themselves who are in this constant arms race.
Oh, wow.
With YouTube coming up with new ways to block ads as YouTube tries to find ways around those blocks.
It's like a game of cat and mouse.
It's exactly like a game of cat and mouse. It's this constant back and forth.
Yeah.
One side makes a move, the other side counters.
Right.
And it just keeps going.
So, like, what are some of the things that the ad blocker developers are doing to stay ahead?
Oh, the developers of uBlock Origin, for example, they've had to constantly update their filters to keep pace with YouTube's attempts to circumvent their ad blocker.
Wow, so they're like constantly on the lookout for new ways that YouTube is trying to sneak ads in.
Exactly. They even set up a website.
Oh, really?
To track this back and forth battle. Yeah. It's essentially a scorecard.
A scorecard.
Yeah.
Like who's winning the ad blocking war?
Yeah, to see who's winning, who's blocking more ads.
That's pretty amazing.
It's pretty incredible, and it really highlights the fact that this is a technological arms race that neither side can truly win.
It's just going to keep going back and forth.
It's going to keep going back and forth, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got YouTube trying to to make money from ads.
Right.
We've got users trying to block those ads.
Yeah.
And we've got developers caught in the middle of it all.
Right. Trying to help the users.
Yeah, it's a pretty complex situation.
It is, yeah. It's not a simple issue.
No, not at all.
It's got a lot of layers to it.
Absolutely. And you know, not all ad blockers are created equal either.
Oh.
Some like AdBlock Plus.
Yeah.
They've taken a different approach.
Okay.
Where they actually allow certain acceptable ads in exchange for payment from advertisers.
So they're kind of playing both sides a little bit.
Yeah, it's a pretty controversial strategy.
I bet.
Some people have even compared it to a protection racket.
A protection racket.
Yeah, where advertisers have to pay up.
Wow.
Or their ads get blocked.
That's pretty intense.
It's a pretty wild situation, and it definitely raises some ethical questions.
Yeah, for sure. Like who gets to decide what's an acceptable ad?
Exactly.
And what's not?
And do companies like YouTube, do they have the right to dictate what software we use on our own devices?
Right. It's a question of control, isn't it?
It is. It is. Mm-hmm. It really is. Yeah. It's like where do we draw the line between a company's right to make money,
right, and
a user's right to control their own online experience?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's a really tough one, and we're gonna dig into that a little bit more in the next part of this deep dive.
All right, I'm hooked.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic.
It is,
and it's one that I think we all need to be thinking about.
Yeah,
because it really does affect all of us.
Absolutely.
Who use the internet.
Yeah, everyone.
So stay tuned.
All right.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation, isn't it?
It is.
It's like, on the one hand, you know, YouTube is a business, mm-hmm. and they need to make money.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it feels kind of intrusive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When a platform tries to dictate what software you can and can't use.
Yeah.
On your own device.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's like, who are they to tell me what I can do on my computer?
Yeah, and it really does kind of blur the lines a little bit, doesn't it?
It does.
When you start getting into those kind of questions.
It does. And it gets even more complex when you bring in the legal side of things, too.
Oh, interesting.
You know, like in Europe, for example, mm-hmm. there are privacy laws like the GDPR,
right,
which could potentially clash with some of these anti-ad blocking measures.
You're right. In fact, one of our sources mentioned a lawyer in Germany.
Oh, wow.
Actually filed a lawsuit against YouTube.
Really?
Arguing that their anti-ad blocking tactics violate those very privacy laws.
Huh. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, definitely.
But speaking of legal gray areas, there's also the ethical dimension to consider, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
You know, creators rely on ad revenue.
Yeah.
To fund their work.
Yeah, that's how a lot of them make a living.
And ad blockers do cut into those earnings.
They do, yeah.
So that's a common argument against ad blockers. Mm-hmm. That they're hurting creators.
Right.
But I've also heard from creators who say they understand why people use ad blockers.
Really?
Yeah. They actually encourage their viewers to use them.
That's surprising.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of counterintuitive.
It is.
But their thinking is that they'd rather prioritize a positive viewing experience for their audience. Yeah. Even if it means potentially sacrificing some ad revenue.
Right, because ultimately they want people to actually enjoy their content.
Exactly. They recognize that viewers who are constantly being bombarded with annoying ads are less likely to be engaged with their content anyway.
Right, they're going to be more focused on, like, how do I get rid of this ad than actually paying attention to the video.
Yeah, and they'd rather have people happily watching their content. Mm. And then maybe those viewers will choose to support them in other ways.
Right, like maybe buying merchandise or becoming a Patreon supporter.
Exactly. It's about building a genuine connection with your audience,
right,
rather than forcing them to watch ads that they don't want to see.
Right. It's about respect, I think.
Yeah. It was about respecting the viewers' time.
Yeah.
And their attention.
Absolutely.
And some creators even argue that allowing ad blocking
Oh, interesting.
could actually be beneficial for YouTube.
Really? How so?
In the long run.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive.
It is, yeah.
But one of our sources,
yeah,
the YouTuber Asmongold,
okay.
He makes the point that the people who install ad blockers are probably the least likely to buy anything based on those ads anyway.
Right. They're already kind of opting out of that whole system.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
So by allowing them to kind of filter themselves out, YouTube could potentially increase the effectiveness of their advertising for the remaining audience.
So it's kind of like you're focusing on the people who are actually more likely to be receptive to the ads.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, if you're not interested in the ads anyway, you're probably not going to buy anything.
Right.
So why even bother showing them to you?
Right. Just let the people who are interested.
Exactly.
Yes. So
it's a fascinating perspective.
It is. Yeah.
It really is, and it suggests that maybe we need to rethink this whole ad-supported model.
Yeah.
What if it's just not sustainable in the long run?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been the dominant model for so long, but things are changing.
Things are changing. Yeah. And if ad revenue continues to decline, we could see a major shift towards subscription-based models for everything online.
For everything, yeah.
Like Louis Rossmann, another tech YouTuber we have in our sources, he put it really well. He said, you either pay with your time by watching ads, or you pay with your money for an ad-free experience.
Yeah. It's a trade-off.
It's a trade-off, and he compared it to
what?
To like choosing between a regular coffee at Starbucks, which costs a few bucks, or sitting there all day nursing a single free cup of coffee while you use their Wi-Fi.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, it really is, and it's true, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Like you're either paying one way or the other.
Right, you're either paying with your time or your money.
Exactly. And there are signs that this shift towards subscription models is already happening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the rising costs of internet infrastructure are putting pressure on platforms to find new revenue streams.
Right, because it's expensive to run these platforms.
To run these platforms, yeah. One of our sources mentioned a legal battle happening in South Korea.
Oh, wow.
Between Netflix and a major internet service provider. They're fighting over who should pay. For the increased bandwidth usage from all the streaming.
So it's like Netflix is using a lot of bandwidth.
Tons.
And the internet service provider is saying, hey, you got to pay for that.
Exactly. Yeah. And Netflix is saying, well, no, that's your job to provide the bandwidth.
Yeah.
So it's this big legal battle.
The Netflix versus SK broadband case.
Exactly. Yeah. And it highlights the growing tension between content providers like Netflix and the companies that provide the infrastructure for the internet.
Yeah, because they both need each other.
They do.
But they're also kind of at odds with each other.
Exactly. And those rising costs could ultimately be passed on to consumers.
Yeah, which means higher prices for us.
Exactly. And in a way, that's already happening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, look at what happened with Twitch in South Korea.
Twitch.
They actually shut down their service entirely.
Wow.
In that market.
Really?
Because of those rising infrastructure costs. And that legal battle.
So they just said it's not worth it for us.
Yeah, they basically said it's not economically viable.
Wow.
To continue operating in that market.
That's pretty drastic.
It's a pretty stark example of the economic realities facing online platforms these days.
Yeah, for sure.
And unfortunately it's looking like things could get even harder for ad blockers going forward.
Really?
Yeah, Google's making changes to their Chrome browser that could significantly weaken ad blockers.
Oh, wow. Like how?
Yeah, you're talking about Manifest v3.
Manifest v3.
Okay. It sounds pretty technical.
It does, yeah.
But basically these changes would give Google a lot more control over what browser extensions can and can't do.
So they're basically limiting what ad blockers are able to do.
Exactly. And that would make it a lot harder for ad blockers to work effectively.
Right, because they're kind of being constrained by Google.
Exactly. And since Chrome is the most popular browser in the world,
yeah, that's true.
This could have a huge impact on the entire internet ecosystem.
Yeah, for sure.
You might actually start seeing fewer ads being blocked on Chrome in the future because of this change.
So what are ad blocker users supposed to do?
Well, one option is to switch to a different browser.
Okay.
That still supports strong ad blocking, like Firefox. Yeah, they've committed to maintaining support for the current extension system.
Right.
That allows ad blockers to function as intended.
So they're kind of like the holdout.
Yeah, they're kind of like the last bastion of true ad blocking.
Interesting.
So there's still some options available.
Okay, that's good.
But this whole situation just makes you wonder, like, is this battle even worth fighting?
Yeah.
Maybe instead of trying to block ad blockers,
right,
platforms like YouTube should focus on making ads less annoying and more engaging in the first place.
Right, like address the root of the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes you think, like, what if instead of this constant arms race, what if we focused on, like, a different approach? What if we focused on making online advertising less intrusive and more, I don't know, engaging, more relevant?
I think that's the key, right? Finding that balance. And there's some interesting ideas out there.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, we've already seen how effective skippable ads can be.
Oh, yeah.
If an ad is actually engaging, entertaining, people are more likely to choose to watch it.
That's true, yeah. When I see a skippable ad that actually looks kind of interesting, I sometimes find myself watching the whole thing.
Right.
And it's a much better experience than being forced to sit through an unskippable ad that I have zero interest in.
Exactly.
It's night and day, the difference.
It is, and it's not just about the format of the ads themselves. It's also about making them more relevant to the viewer.
Oh, yeah.
If
I'm seeing ads for things that I'm actually interested in,
right,
I'm less likely to find them annoying.
Exactly. So maybe the solution isn't about blocking ads entirely, but about making them better.
Okay.
Less intrusive and more targeted.
Okay, so more about kind of like refining the system rather than just trying to completely dismantle it.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting to consider, like, the historical context here.
Okay.
We have a source that mentions Ethan Zuckerman, the very person who invented the pop-up ad.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So the guy who unleashed this whole thing,
he's actually apologized for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he called online advertising the original sin of the web.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
It is.
Coming from the guy who invented pop-up ads.
Right. It makes you wonder if maybe, like, we took a wrong turn somewhere.
Yeah.
Along the way.
Like the intentions maybe were good initially, but it kind of got out of control.
Right. It evolved in a way that maybe wasn't foreseen.
Yeah.
But I think it's also a sign that there's a growing awareness of the need to rethink how we approach online advertising.
Okay.
It's not sustainable to just keep bombarding people with ads they resent.
So where do we go from here? Like, what's the solution?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And honestly, there may not be one single solution.
Okay.
It's probably going to involve a combination of approaches, from developing better ad formats to finding alternative models for funding online content.
Like maybe a hybrid system.
Yeah.
Where some content is ad-supported and some is behind a paywall.
That's a possibility.
Okay.
Or maybe we'll see the rise of micropayments, where you pay a tiny amount to access individual pieces of content.
Interesting.
There are a lot of different ideas being explored.
It's a fascinating issue, and it's one that's going to keep evolving.
Oh, for sure.
In the coming years.
Absolutely.
But what I find really interesting is that it's not just a technical issue.
Yeah.
It's a social and ethical one as well.
It is. It's about finding a way to balance the needs of content creators, platforms, and users.
Right, all the stakeholders.
Yeah, exactly.
And ultimately, it's about shaping the future of the internet itself.
Yeah, it really is.
So for all of you listening out there, I think the the big takeaway here is that this is a conversation worth having.
For sure.
We need to think critically about the role of advertising online.
Absolutely.
And explore different approaches to finding a more sustainable and ethical model.
Exactly. And as users, we have more power than we realize.
Yeah.
The choices we make, the platforms we support, the way we engage with ads, all contribute to shaping the online landscape.
So what do you think?
Yeah.
Like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
What's the right balance between supporting creators, enjoying free content, and protecting your own online experience? Yeah. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It is.
But that's what makes it so fascinating to explore,
It is. And who knows, maybe by engaging in this dialogue and exploring different solutions, we can collectively create a better, more balanced and more enjoyable internet for everyone.
That's a great note to end on. And on that thought-provoking note, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, and keep those brains buzzing.